In this video, we will add the contact form to our project. So, as you can see from here, we have a contact and your name. I told you about that in the last video. And then here, we have the first name and the last name, which will have already a value. So when I click on submit, it will be submitted as correct and not wrong or an error. And also here we have for the mark auto, which means that, for example, the first and the last name that will be printed here is for the name of the user. Let's say that I'm Mark and I visited the profile of Andrejana. So when I visit her profile and scroll down to contact, it will show me this contact form, and the first name will be Mark Auto, which is my name, and the submission form or this content will be sent to Andrejana. So let's know how we can do this one. For this contact form, we can add a JS for the validation, and then we can add required inputs, invalid and valid feedback. So let's go to the source code or to the Firefox first. Let's go now to the forms, not content, and then we will move to validation, and then we can go to the how it works. Scroll down again. We can take this source code for the JavaScript, and then we can make the screen smaller, and then we can scroll down. We can add here script and then paste this code inside. Okay, this is really good. And then let's scroll up here. Let's make this larger a little bit. Okay, where is the closure of this section? Okay, we can add here section, and let's give it a class of contact. And then inside it right here, what we can do first is to add for the dev with class of container. Dev with class of container. Let's go to our live version. Scroll down. Okay, that's good. Here we can add a header h3. Let's just add for some margin top for this one. Here we can add h3 with class margin bottom of 3 and your name. Okay, this is really good. After this header, or we can just type contact your name. This is better, I think so. Okay, this is good. And then we will add here form and give it class of row because we have grid system. Let's delete the action, we don't really need it. And let's give it some getter of 3. And here we need validation because the form needs a validation. And then we can make no validate, so it will not be automatically validated until I click on submit. And then here we can just make for the column md of 4, and this one would be for the first name. We can make here label for, let's make it for name 1. And then we can make it for class form labeled. And then inside here we can make for the input. Let's just type here first name. And then here we will make input with type of text, and let's give it an ID of name 1 and also class of form control. Let's check out what we have here. Okay, this is good. And then after this one right here, we will add for the last name. We can copy this one. We don't actually need to create a new one. This one will be for the name 2. And again here 2. And this one will be for the last name. But we just need to give it a value. Here, yeah, here. Value of mark. Value. Okay, and then right here after this one, we will add a new one. For this one, we will have the input group. Then the first thing we will have here is the label of the username, and the first span will be for the @ and the next or the second span for the choose a username. Then here we can just make for the column MD of 4, and then inside this one we can just make for label for username, and we will give it a class form label. And then we can just type here user, sorry, the wrong position, user name. Okay, and then we can add our input group here. We can make first dev with class of input group, and also we can give it as validation. So now we can just make for the input group text span with input group text. Okay, let's give it just, we don't need an ID really, so let's type here @ and then we can just make here for the input, and for this input we can give it type of text, class of form control, and the ID of username. Let's check out what we have here. Okay, this is really working good. And then after this column, we can add for the city. So let's make it here. Let's make column. Let's make this column MD of 6 for the city. And then we can make label. The label will be for the city. And after that one right here, we can make for the class of form label city. And then we can make for the input with type of text. We don't need the name, we just need the ID. Okay, this one will be for the city. Okay, this is really working good. Let's give it a class of form control. And then we can make for the, no, we don't have a value here. Reload, here we got for the city. Now let's add for the select area. We can make here column MD of 3, and we can make here label for, let's make it select area, and let's give it a class of form label, and inside the label we can just type something like state, and then after the label we will add for the select, let's give it a class of form select, and then also we can make it for the ID. We don't need the name, we just need the ID. We can copy this ID and paste it here. Okay, and now we can make for the options. Option. The first option, we can make it selected. Selected, and also disabled, so the user cannot choose it in the form. And then right here, we can make for the last option. This one would be for choose. And for this option, we can make it empty. We don't need the value, so we can just delete it. Okay, I hope this is working good. We don't need this one. Option 1, 2, 3. Okay, and now we can just make for the zip. So we can just go here and add the column mg of 3, and then we can just make for the label for, let's make it like that, and we will give it a class of form control zip. Okay, this is really good. And then here we can add the input with a type of text. Let's make it text, and also we can give it a class form control ID of the IP, and then we can just make for the okay, we will leave the invalid or the valid back here, and we will get it back. We will get back to it when we are done from typing the inputs and the labels. After this one, we have for the checkbox. We can make here column of 12, and then we can make dev with class of form check, and then inside we can make input with type of text. Let's give it a class form check input, and then after this one we can make for the type. No, the type will be checkbox, and then we can make for the label with class of form check label. This one, let's give it an ID or check. We forgot about the ID for this input. And here let's just type agreed. Okay, and the last one will be for the submission button. We can make here column of 12 button with type of submit, and we can give it a class of button and button primary, and then we can just make for submit form. Okay, let's now go and see what we have right now. When we click here, it will be submitted. Because we don't have required, so text it like I don't need to fill, so it will be automatically succeed. We can go from the beginning right here. Let's make this one required, and after the input we can add either valid or valid feedback, or you can add both of them, but now we can just add valid feedback. Okay, and then inside here looks good. And then we can copy this one and make it for this one right here also. And for the username, we can make it invalid. Choose unavailable, or just please choose a username. And then we can make for the city. Let's make it for the city right here. We can make it where the city, yeah, the city is here. Add to the input. We can just make it for invalid. Choose a city. And then for the state, we can make after this select. After the select, we can make for the invalid. We can type here something like select a valid state. And for the zip address, we can copy this one and paste it here. We can type here something like provide a valid ZIP. And for the grade, we can paste this again. We can type you have to agree. We can make them all required right now. Where is required? We can copy this one. Copy. Paste again right here. Again here. Okay, I hope this will work great. Again right here for the select, we can type at after this class. Right here again for this input. Again for this checkbox. Let's now save, go back here, reload. Let's try this out. So here we have a validation with these outputs. Then now we're done from the contact form. In the next video, we will add for the footer, this footer right here. So good luck and have fun.